Hi, I'm Joe Sorge, and welcome to the Family Law Report, where we examine the problems and challenges facing our family court system. This is part 2 of our interview with Dr. Jerry Collins, who runs the Maine Guardian Ad Litem Alert, an activist organization that focuses on the problems associated with guardians ad litem in the state of Maine. In part 1, we exposed the conflicts of interest that pervade this sordid industry. Jerry was instrumental in convincing the Maine legislature to pass a law to rein in the corruption that was taking place. But the Bar Association and the judges didn't appreciate someone ending their party so soon. Let's find out how the judiciary handled the new law that attempted to spoil their insider dealings.
The Chief Justice and the court will appoint a committee of what are called stakeholders. They appointed me to one such committee. I was the only civilian. I was the only non-member of the divorce industry. And it was, just a shameless example of self-interest. First of all, the committee was chaired by one of the associate justices, and there were several models presented for handling complaints. The state has a very good model for dealing with professional complaints through the offices that handle, licensing for doctors, psychologists, plumbers. Everybody is licensed by the Department of Human Services. If there's a complaint, it's handled in a very professional manner, and there are consequences. Minor complaint, minor problem. Major complaint, you can lose your license. The bar is the lawyers are the only profession that are self-regulated. They get very sanctimonious about how they self-regulate and all that stuff, but we know self-regulation is not always what it's cracked up to be. When I was on the committee, I vehemently opposed the Overseers of the Bar. The Overseers of the Bar is a private organization funded totally by the lawyers themselves and by certain bequests that lawyers make to the Overseers of the Bar. But they have no ties to government that would render them accountable to the electorate.
So, Jerry, how do the lawyers and judges go about undermining a new law that they don't like?
The centerpiece of the rules and standards for guardians ad litem is the complaint procedure for guardians ad litem. That is the only piece in there, in lieu of supervision, in lieu of any other quality assurance, that the complaint from the public is the only piece that offers some sense to the public that they can get a handle on a rogue or a very bad guardian ad litem.
So how did the committee mess with a complaint procedure that seems to be in place and working for all other professions in the state?
Might as well be written in Latin or Greek. It's very complex. It references all kinds of laws. There is an appellate process internal to it. It basically is it is designed to be so tight that you can't make a complaint.
Who wrote the language?
They have a committee of about 20 lawyers, judges, guardians ad litem.
So the judiciary took the new law from the legislature, and instead of implementing it the way that the legislature intended, they put the foxes in charge of the henhouse. As a member of this committee, what did you do?
I wrote a minority report, a detailed minority report of why it was, very candidly, why it was a bad idea. And then I wrote an op-ed piece for the Portland Press Herald, the biggest newspaper in Maine, which they published. So that and then we went viral. We just sent it around to everybody. The other thing that happened, I did a report, unsolicited report, to the Chief Justice about the problems that I saw. It was entitled "The Power of the Powerless," the guardian ad litem issue. The power of the powerless is of course Václav Havel, the former Czech president, Nobel Prize winner, activist, etc. Havel says, tell the truth. Don't mince words, don't be rude, but just tell the truth. And so in our report, we tried to tell the truth. And first of all, it gives courage to other people who are going through this and saying, is it me? Is it my fault? Am I doing something wrong? And it gives courage to people when they see someone speak up and say, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Your movie has been an incredible godsend. People are stunned. People who know about it are encouraged because that's me. That's my daughter. That's so and so. People who don't know about it are just blown out of the water. People will say, are there really people? Is he exaggerating in this film?
Jerry, some critics of the movie, particularly lawyers, have said that I must have found the only 5 cases in the United States that ended up so tragically, and I made it look like this is a commonplace occurrence. Tell us, are these tragedies commonplace?
I mean, that's a typical lawyerly comment. It's not about lawyers having a problem with, it's about people, human beings, children, families, mothers, fathers. That's who's having the problem. We have stories that would just absolutely, we had the legislature, the Judiciary Committee of the legislature, most of them in tears or welled up as our people testified what they've gone through. I can put a finger on faces in Maine. I could over 500 people easily. I would not say that you're cherry picking. I would say that they are very, we find that people can relate to it. People of all classes. There are all sorts of issues of drug addiction and alcoholism, very, very common situations.
Let's take a look at a short clip from the movie.
I sat down with him and he put a microphone in front of me and he said, tell me about birth until you were 10 years old. So I start talking. He was sweating, he was anxious. I felt very uncomfortable. I could tell that there was something that just wasn't settling right. My instinct was that there was something terribly wrong.
Within a couple of days type of thing, I received a phone call from him. He was asserting to me that for another 25 or 35, he'd be able to give us what we wanted. And I said, not 25? And he said, yeah, 25,000. My friend sees him, and I looked at him and I said, do you know him? And he said, literally, do I know him? Hold on a second, I'll show you his Facebook.
There was one after another of shocking photos of sex, porn stars, cocaine. And I'm thinking, this is the guy that's gonna tell me whether or not I'm a good mother? Do whatever you want in your private life, but you do not get to determine what's best for my child.
How do the attorneys rationalize away these problems? How can they ignore the hundreds of tragic stories that you've accumulated just in the state of Maine, or that other activists have accumulated around the country, or that we've seen on the Divorce Corp website? How can they ignore this?
I think most of them feel that they are doing what they have been trained to do in law school. And this is the way it is. This is the way it has been. We are a profession, and this is how our profession operates. You know, Hannah Arendt, the German-American philosopher, talked about the banality of evil. When she did a series on the Adolf Eichmann trials in Jerusalem, and she talked about the banality of Adolf Eichmann, that he was not a mustachio-twirling Simon Legree kind of figure. He was a banal, lower middle class kind of guy who got way in over his depth, and I think that's a lot of it is just incompetence. The people that Václav Havel dealt with in Czechoslovakia, a lot of the communist bureaucrats, the top bureaucrats, were not Albert Einstein. They were not geniuses. They were just trudging along and doing their job. And this is doing what they were supposed to do. These people aren't sacred. We were raised to believe that all judges are impartial. Judges can detach themselves, their personal life, their professional life, and they can be very impartial even no matter what. And those kind of professional myths that have existed for centuries, really, are being trashed.
Well, if you're claiming that family court lawyers and judges are not Einstein-level thinkers, I'm not going to argue with you. But then where does the problem lie?
The system is evil. The system is what I see as a big problem. There's a danger in personalizing it because you then think you get rid of one person, but the system basically sustains malfunctioning. About a year ago, the Chief Justice of Canada issued a report saying their system was so badly broken they had to go back to the drawing board.
So can we get our leaders in the United States to acknowledge the same? Do you think we can call out these corrupt practices and expose the system for what it is?
I think what you are seeing is huge pressure for some other model for handling the problem-solving process in a public way. You know, it's wrong that one profession, that all of us should be willy-nilly subsidizing the courts of law for the legal profession without them having some obligation to the public. I think there's a need for almost a constitutional convention in terms of what are we going to do with our courts?
Do you think our reform efforts around the country are starting to have an impact?
The monopoly of the legal profession in all of its aspects on the law, the courts, and so on is cracking and crumbling and barely in control. It's broken. More people that are approaching court reform from whatever angle, I don't care how they're approaching it, you know, with well-organized, well-funded, not organized, not funded, any way they're doing it is all to the good. We're basically saying the system is badly broken. It's a disgrace to a democracy. Can't we do better in 21st century America?
Well, thank you, Jerry. Great interview. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you for your time, and thank you. I've wanted to talk to you and say, Joe, thank you so much for that film. That is a table pounder. It is an incredible film, and it has been terribly useful. I cannot begin to tell you how useful.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you again, Jerry. I'm Joe Sorge, and this is the Family Law Report. Thank you.